If you remember correctly, yesterday we talked about iron, barzel. And this is referring to the prophecy of Yechezkel, that he made before the destruction of the first temple. And he was really prophesying regarding the third temple. And God told him to take a wall of what is a frying pan, whatever, of iron, and put it between him and Jerusalem. And this was signifying that Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, is going to come and lay siege to Jerusalem. He's going to destroy it with iron. But says the Rebbe, but iron also has a very good connotation. Even though iron up to this point has only been bad, you weren't allowed to use iron, to bring iron into the building the temple. There was no iron in the tabernacle and the first temple, the second temple. No iron. Iron is barzel. It says the Rebbe, but if you look at what barzel is, the barzel has the letters Beit Resh Zion Lamed. This indicates the four mothers of Judaism. Rachel, let's look at a pointer over here. Rachel and Leah, and before Rachel is her maidservant Bilhah, and before Leah is her maidservant Zilpah, Zion. So this shows on they're the mothers of Judaism. Now, first of all, they're the mothers of Judaism. They are sort of secondary to the fathers of Judaism, right? They're the fathers. The main thing of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we say the God of Abraham, Isaac. We're talking about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all the time. And the mothers, not so much. And the maidservants, for sure, not so much. Says the Rebbe, in the future, it's going to be the opposite. The mothers of Judaism will be the main thing. The lowest level, so to speak, the receivers will actually be higher. And that's why it says that when King David, when he planned making the temple, is that he stored up a lot of iron, even though it was not used. Because he was storing it up for the future temple, the third temple. Okay, this is what we got up to. Let's make it even more, palatable. That the connection of the Geula Tida, the future redemption. Now, when the Rebbe is talking about future redemption, he's talking about something that was supposed to have happened a long time ago. So it should be any instant this should happen. In one way, there's going to be massive changes in this future redemption. But the changes are going to be, at least in the beginning, mostly ones of attitude. That's what we just finished learning in Torah Or. That the Jews will be free to do Torah and commandments wherever they want. Free from who? Well, in the world, we're already free. A Jew can do commandments, anywhere he wants to. In Iran, in the most, supposedly suppressive countries in the world, a Jew can do Torah mitzvahs if he wants. Right? They don't throw people into jail for putting on tefillin or for praying or for making a mikveh. The ones that are suppressing the Jews now are the Jews themselves. In the future, this will be transformed. The Jews themselves will wake up. Oh, that's going to be a very amazing thing. So that's going to be the whole idea of the redemption. The third temple comes down from heaven. That's a pretty big miracle. But after that, the Jews will realize, hey, this temple is here not just as a tourist site. This is God himself put it there. God doesn't need tourism. God put the temple here so that we'll be able to serve the Creator, and everyone will want to serve the Creator. That's the novelty. Everyone will want, the Jews will all want to serve the Creator. From that, the whole world will catch on, and they'll also want. Okay. We can even make this the shaykhs, this future redemption. Also to the 10th of Tevet. The 10th of Tevet, the month of Tevet, that's the month we're in now, right? The fast day was just yesterday, the 10th. Hu Chodesh Asiri. This is the 10th month of the year. Like it says, Chodesh Asiri, Chodesh Tevet. It says in the Megillah. That's if you start counting the months from Nisan, from the month of Passover. That's the first month of the Jewish months. The first day, of course, is Rosh Hashanah, but the first month is Nisan. So this is the 10th month. This is the 10th month from Nisan. Nisan is the month of Geula, of freedom. Jews got out of Egypt. And in the 10th day, 10th month itself, the 10th day of the 10th month, Asiri Sheba Asiri. Asiri Yeh Kodesh. There's a principle that the number 10 is a holy number 10. This is spoken about when they give tithe from animals. So it says the animals would come out. You let them out one at a time from the pen, and the number 10 would be holy. The sheep and the number 10 you gave to the temple, tithe. Meiser Behem is called. Sharom is this hints at number 10 is holy. Because number 10, this indicates the complete redemption. Shabo, that in it will be the completeness of the number 10. Alei Asor, the 10th. Shira Asirit, the 10th song, Moshiach. That says that there will be some sort of an instrument, a lyre or something like that has 10 strings. And Para Asirit, the Moshiach he'll bring the 10th red cow. Number 10. Can Eretz Israel, also the land of Israel. Lorak Eretz Sheva Umot, it'll be the land of not just 10 nations, right? God promised Abraham that he would give him the land of Canaan, which was inhabited by 10 nations, and God only gave him 7. In the future, Mashiach will receive the other 3 on the other side of the Jordan River. Ela Eretz Eser Umot. Odzot, and even more. So that's number 10. All these examples of number 10 is completion and holiness, wholesomeness, as far as Judaism is concerned. This month, though, it's the 10th month, and the 10th day of the 10th month, the 10th day of the 10th month, it's also called in the Gemara, this is the coldest month of the year. It's called the month, Shaguf Nanem Yaguf, that a body gets pleasure from another body. Right, from people being closest, especially talking about a man and his wife. This is the month where people like to warm each other up. Shaguf, that the body, so to speak, likes another body. Well, God is also called a body, a guf, kaviyachal shalamayla. Right? Isaiah saw Ezekiel. They saw a man sitting on the throne. It says that's God. Well, God is infinite. Well, God has 10 sphirot, so to speak. That's God's personality. This is God's body, Mahuto Vatzmuto, God's essence. Nana gets pleasure from our body, every single Jew. The body is also referring to the essence of God, gets pleasure from the body. Who is that? Every single Jew. Shakai, that mainly refers to Al-Mabra Matzav Lasted Love, what's going to be in the future. Sha'az, then, Haneshama, the soul, will receive its holiness. The soul will receive even more holiness from the body. V'yaterim is even more. Hanat Atzmut, the pleasure from the essence, so to speak, of Minaguf, that God will get pleasure from us. And even a special emphasis in this year that the 10th day of Tevet, the Rebbe is speaking over here, this was in 1992. So that's like 31 years ago. And it came out, the days of the week came exactly in sync with the date of the month like it is this year. Just like it is this year. So the 10th day of Tevet, which was yesterday, falls on Yom Shlishi, on Tuesday, 3rd day of the week. When God created the world, on the 3rd day of the week, he said, it was good, it was good. He said it twice, Kitov. On the 2nd day, he didn't say it was good on the creation, because he made division. And the third day, he said 2 times it'll be good. Hapamashin, the second time, when God said on the third day of creation, he said it was good. Hu ben Ogia, this is relevant to Briat, when God created on the third day. What did he create? Desha Esav Mazriya Zera. That God created grasses and plants that give forth seed, that reproduce, the eitzosapri, and trees that give forth fruits that have seeds in them. Shazariyat Azera, that this planting of seeds includes, and it brings about the beginning of growing fruits. So what is it? What happens over here? God made on the third day, he made plants that reproduce, that are, what do you call it? Self-sustaining. No, it's not a good word. It is a better word. Anyway, in the future, that they produce in the future. All right, I can't think of the word. Maybe I never knew the word, but in any case, they, so the plants have seeds, and the seeds give birth to plants which have seeds. And those seeds, which are in the second plants, they also can give birth to plants that have seeds, which give birth to plants that have seeds. Therefore, it's a chain. There's a good word for it, and I know the word, I can't remember. Because that's the whole thing of the third day of creation. Third day of creation is fruitfulness, planting, growth. Dugma told, this is what happened on the third day. And when the third day of the week, like it did this year, like it did back then, also when the Rebbe was speaking, falls the 10th day of the 10th month, Shekaviyadzu, that this stresses even more that the beginning of the destruction and the exile, 10th day of Tevet. 10th day of Tevet was when the exile began. Nebuchadnezzar began to lay siege to the first temple. That was the beginning of the idea of destruction of the temple. When did it happen? It happened on the beginning of the Geula. It happened on Tuesday, which is the day of growth. This is like the idea of Zuriya, like planting, growth, which includes in it also the beginning of growth, planting. You do it like it's known, Shagalos, that the exile is compared to planting. Like it says, Zorati Lib Oretz, that God's scattering the Jews all around from the land of Israel is like planting seeds all over the world. By means of this, by means of the Jews being scattered all over the world, is this made a greater fertility of the world. Like the rabbi say, Klum Adam Zoreya Saed, is there anyone who plants a bushel of seeds, unless he doesn't want to reap many bushels, until an infinite increase. Peroteim, ad sof kol olam. I mean, if you think about it, you have one little seed, and in that one seed, it's just one, right? You plant that seed, and there grows up an apple tree. And the apple tree, how many seeds are in each apple? I don't know, ask an agronom or somebody, but let's say there's 10 seeds in every apple. And how many apples are there in an apple tree? Let's say 100. So already you have, from one seed, you got 1,000. And from each one of those 1,000, you have another 1,000. So you already got 1,000,000. And from each one of those seeds, you got another 1,000. So you got 1,000,000,000. From each one of those, you have another 1,000. Right? So you have 1,000,000,000,000. So in other words, from one little seed, all of a sudden you got 1,000,000,000,000 seeds. That's pretty good. Says the Rebbe, that's the whole idea of the power of growth. And that's what began on Tuesday, first Tuesday, Yom Shlishi. Yom Shlishi shows on the power of infinite growth. Well, it's the same thing here. The beginning of the destruction of the temple falls this year on Yom Shlishi, on Tuesday. And it's also the 10th of the 10th, that shows on a completion, like a seed is complete. So this is the day that everything is doubled. Hatov, the Geula mitit, the good, which is in the true, complete redemption. Being Beit HaMikdash in the building of the temple, Geula nitzchit, an eternal redemption and a holy temple which will be eternal. How will this be? There won't be any more bad in the world. Geula Shlishis, this will be the third redemption, Yom Shlishi, and Beit HaMikdash Shlishi, which will be the third temple. What does it mean, the third redemption? One of them was, the first one we got out of Egypt. Second one we got out of Babylon. And the third one now is called the Gullus of Rome. We'll get out of this also, like it says, B'yom Shlishi, on the third day, Yakimenu v'nichi elefanov. It says on the third day, we will stand, we will come back to life. It's talking about the raising of the dead, and we will stand in front of God. It's from the Hosea, from the prophet Hosea. Alpiz, according to this, Yesh Labeir, we can explain. Gam, also the connection between Parshas Vayechi, that's this week's Torah portion. Simo, the end of Sefer Rishon. Okay, so now we've explained the future redemption is supposed to come any instant. Because this is very far away from our comprehension and our day-to-day experience, and nothing in the world seems to indicate that this amazing change is going to occur, except what the Rebbe tells us. So he believes in it. Why should I believe in it? So the Rebbe says, I'm going to tell you what. Number one, it's in the prophecy of Ezekiel. And he says it's going to happen. Prophet. How did he prophesy it? By this iron wall that he put up. Iron, says the Rebbe, is a hint at the third temple. Iron is it. And he explained why. And it's a hint at the redemption. And also the fact that this day that we're celebrating the beginning of the destruction of the temple, it falls on the 10th day of the 10th month. Tevet is the 10th month, and number 10 is completion, wholesomeness. We're looking forward to something wholesome and good happening. And because this year it falls on Tuesday, and Tuesday is the day of growth, so that's also another hint at the future redemption. That's going to happen. So let's just say it in a very simple way. You ever look at a seed? Go to a store, you look at a seed, take an apple, you take an apple seed and hold that seed. If you show that to somebody who never saw an apple tree before, and you show it to him, what is this? Would you believe that from this little black thing is going to come whole huge orchards with colors and smells and fragrance and white flowers and growth? You can sit under the shade of them. He'll say you're nuts. From this little black thing is going to come. Who would believe it? But the fact is it does, and we see that it does. So in other words, what seems to be a normal world, colorless and shapeless and tasteless, whatever, with no fragrance, the fact of the matter is there's a seed that's going to grow up. And it's going to happen. It's happening all the time. Also, we have the prophets. The prophets, if Judaism is true in any way, and we see that even the most non-affiliated he was not willing to say that he's not Jewish, right? Very rarely do you see a person that's willing to say that. By Israelis, it used to. I don't even know if that exists anymore. So we see that there's a little seed of Judaism inside of every single Jew. It's there. It's unexplainable, but it's there. That little seed of Judaism, that little seed of the prophecy that was given by one of the, pure Jews, Ezekiel, the prophet. So if it's there, if it's true that we're Jews, and if it's true that one little seed can bring this, so it's also can be true, listen, maybe this big change is going to happen. The Rebbe wants to orient us that we should be expecting something really good and to look at the world like it's a seed. In other words, not to take it at face value at all. According to this, We can explain also the connection between this and Parshas Vayechi. See, in which that's the end of the first book of the Torah, book of Genesis. It's called the straight book because it talks about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But they're called the straight people, the honest, straight. When we finish the book, everybody in the synagogue says, be strong, and let us be strong. Chazak. I'll call on all the books after it. Excuse me. Cave, and since the Siyam B'chosim. Okay, let's try. Here we go. Cave, and since the Siyam B'chosim Sefer Bereshit, since at the end of this book of Genesis is how all the Jewish people were all in Egypt. Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim. How is this book? They're in Egypt, right? Next book is going to be the book of Exodus. It starts off, the Jews stay in Egypt, they multiply, they get many in Egypt, and they become slaves. This is the beginning of the exile. This book, talking about how everything is really great. Jacob and his sons, they're all safe. They have what to eat. The famine stops. Everything is good, but that is the seed of the exile. Kamudgash, like it's explained in the book of exile, in the book of Exodus, that happens afterwards. Elishmot B'Yisrael, Aboy Mitzrayim. These are the names of the Jews that come into Egypt. Shmot. These are the names. In English, it's called Exodus, but in Hebrew, it's called Shmot names. This begins the exile in Egypt after Yosef died, and they put him into an ark, into a coffin in Egypt. That's the end of this week's Torah portion. So therefore, when we read this, that the Jewish people are now in Egypt and the exile is beginning, so everyone in the synagogue yells out, Chazak, Chazak, be strong, benit chazek, and let us strengthen ourselves. We have to strengthen ourselves in the time of the exile. Ad lalil, until we leave the exile, until the future redemption. Like it says, Reuven and Shimon went down, Reuven and Shimon will come out. Shall you read at the Geulah that the going down into exile is in order to elevate. Like it says in the end of the book of Chronicles, Hashem Elokeim Shamayim Pakad al Lai, that God commanded me, says King Solomon, leave a note lo beit b'Yisrael. That's at the end of, no. End of this. This is Ezra, Nehemiah, commanded me to build a house in Jerusalem. Mi bechem b'kol amo Hashem Elokeinu, Ya'al, who will come up with me? Haliyah min hagolus, going out of the exile into the redemption to build a temple which is even higher than the first one. And so it will be from the third temple. Like it says, Gadol yeh kavod habayit, greater will be this house, the third temple. Mina Rishon, greater than the first one. This refers mainly to the third temple. But Tochen HaChizuk will be Vayechi Yaakov. That's Yaakov is alive. Yaakov, his whole thing is Torah. That's the middle pillar. So, okay, the end of this week's Torah portion is talking about how the Jews are settling down in Egypt, and eventually this is going to morph into the Egyptian exile. And what gives us power to overcome this exile and all the exiles that came afterwards? Vayechi Yaakov, the Yaakov is still alive. Yaakov is the middle pillar. Yaakov is called the Briach HaTichon, is called the middle pillar that goes from one end to the other. We talked about that in the tabernacle. Minimum for the highest levels until the lowest levels. Hainu, namely, that he goes down, Kamoshu Lamaila, that Yaakov has the ability to come from above to below without any change. That's the thing of Torah. Al Yedei, by means of this, it reveals the true power, truth, Titain Emes Yaakov, the truth of godliness, that it never changes. Yaakov Avinu, like it says, Yaakov Avinu did not die. He's always with us. Lochein, therefore, Mimenu, Va'al Yodov, that from Jacob and through Jacob is drawn down this power for all the Jewish people, all of the time of exile, that even when we are in exile, nevertheless, they can be in the situation of Vayechi Yaakov, they're alive. Chaim emitim, true life, by means of the Torah. That in this is stressed the true power and the eternal power of the Jewish people. How it is makes absolutely no sense that the Jewish people still exist. We've been through so much, and we haven't had our own country, haven't had our own no army, no nothing, until we're still Jews. Why? Because we have this power, eternal power, which was given to us by Jacob, by this week's Torah portion, by Yechi Yaakov. Kafisha Mitkala, like it will be revealed in the future redemption, Geula Nitzlis, an eternal redemption, and an eternal holy temple, a Geula Shlishit, the third redemption, and the Beit HaMikdash Shlishi, and the third temple, which will be attached to the three fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And this will stop here. We have somewhere to go. We'll continue this tomorrow, God willing. God willing, we can finish this with God's help tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom. Let's see.
Thank you.